Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I have another fascinating and fantastic guest with me today. His name is Dean Graves, and he is a renowned meditation teacher, mental health counselor, and spiritual guide with over 20 years' experience in the field, who has inspired and empowered people from all walks of life to embrace mindfulness and meditation as a path to healing, growth, self awareness, and spiritual awakening. He is also the author of 4 books and host of 2 podcasts, as well as a consciousness researcher. Dean, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, it's an honor to speak with you, and I absolutely love your background. And this is coming from somebody who really embraces mindfulness, but really has a hard time with meditation.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the two are synonymous, actually.
Oh, they really are, but I don't know why. When it comes to the meditation part, I just kind of like, ugh, it's just really hard for me to do. So, just tell us from the very beginning how you became interested in the mental health, aspect, meditation, and if I remember correctly, you embraced meditation and started for the first time when you were 50. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. The first 50 years of my life were real conventional in a family and work and struggling to meet the goals that society had instructed me were um, worthwhile. And I had an awakening when I was approximately 50. And an awakening is an often misunderstood concept. It is nothing more than that point in your life where you realize that all the stuff that you've been doing may be giving you the appearance of success, but you're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting happier. And that's what an awakening is. That's all it is. And what has happened when you have that point in your life happen is you've turned on your awareness. And awareness is the tool that we all have that allows us to, first of all, cause multiple problems of all sorts, everything from physical, mental, emotional, and so forth. But it's also the tool that we have to heal. And so it's a matter of learning how to be familiar with awareness and
Mm-hmm.
recognize and explore awareness for its own sake and allow that to be our guide and our tool to how to heal and find that happiness that we find so
Mm-hmm.
elusive.
I find it very compelling that it was at the age of 50 you had your awakening. I had my major awakening at the age of 50. And I don't know, I think there's something very compelling about that part, that time in your life where you kind of realize is this all or am I missing something? Is that what you find in your practice when you're working with other people?
Um, yeah, the mental health part is actually a my second career. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't my first career.
Mm-hmm.
And it arose, interestingly enough, my spouse had suffered from um, cluster headaches all of her life,
Oh.
and she had learned to manage it relatively well. They come in cycles,
Mm-hmm.
and they would appear maybe once a year, usually every 2 years, sometimes every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And about when I was that age, and she was a few years younger than I was,
Mm-hmm.
they went chronic, which is not an unusual cycle for cluster headaches. And so we spent a lot of money and went around to all the different clinics. There are 2 clinics in the country that specialize in cluster headaches, and
Mm-hmm.
neither one of them had a good solution. They both essentially wanted to do a um, uh, sever the trigeminal nerve, which was an artificial stroke. And so we didn't deem that to be possible. And so we started investigating alternatives. And the alternatives migrated to a variety of different techniques called motion processing.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, what all of the effective emotion processing techniques do is teach you to invert that awareness that we have pointed outside of us in order to manipulate the world and get
Mm-hmm.
us those successful accolades that we like, and to invert that same awareness and use that awareness as the tool to discover within us what it is that we need to heal in order to heal ourselves. And so, along with, and it was successful. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
her cluster headaches went away, did not
Mm-hmm.
return after we learned a particular couple of particular techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided we need to be practitioners of this. And so
Mm-hmm.
we became practitioners, and their techniques we found most effective were developed by a Serbian psychologist by the name of Dr. Zivorod Slavinsky.
Uh-huh.
And Zivorod is just a genius. He died a couple of years ago, but his techniques, his approach to healing was not at all conventional. He approached it from the standpoint of how can I advance my enlightenment?
Mm-hmm.
And so he used that basic perspective in order to create the processes that have been so dramatically effective.
Mm-hmm.
And meditation became a part of that because
Mm-hmm.
once you begin to develop that awareness, and I tell my students that almost everybody comes to meditation running away from the stick because the stick hurts.
Uh-huh.
And so we're looking for some way to relieve the pain and suffering that we're experiencing from the stick. And so you begin to meditate and you go through the training
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to meditate until one day you get a bite of the apple.
Mm-hmm.
And you can substitute. I had one guy that said, an apple is not good for me. I like lasagna. Okay, well, you got a bite of the lasagna, whatever works for you. But so you get that positive response and it feels really good. So your
Mm-hmm.
motivation transforms from that point from running away from the stick to chasing that good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really is the kickstart, the beginning of a much more significant meditation practice. And meditation is nothing more than the same thing that I was describing for the emotion processing
Mm-hmm.
techniques, is inverting that awareness and becoming aware and exploring you, which is all of our purposes. No
Mm-hmm.
one has a different purpose in life. Everyone's purpose is to explore themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is unique to us, and our mission is predicated upon what we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do what you like to do, you will become proficient at that because you like doing it. And by that, you will attract the types of experiences that you need to fulfill your purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. So I do have a question about, because when you say okay, then it feels good and you want to go running toward it. Do you get the same kind of reaction? Is it like almost like a dopamine hit once you do get deeply into meditation, or is it changing your neural pathways in a certain way?
It affects you physically, certainly,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not it's not the same as the dopamine hit. As you go deeper and deeper into meditation, then you're deeper and deeper into that exploration, then you first you heal the emotional baggage that we
Mm-hmm.
collect as a result of our experiences. It's nothing more than the lessons that were brought to us that we didn't learn the lesson at the time that the experience was brought to us. And we heal those, and as you do that, that liberates our vital energy, which is required to carry that emotional
Mm-hmm.
baggage. And then we start becoming aware of those beliefs that we've incorporated into our perspective of self, our hierophant.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, then you realize that those are the true source of stress, that we're self fulfilling in our prophecies of how we have structured this perception of self.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, then you do this, the most productive mechanism by far is meditation, and you surrender those beliefs that we get for the most part by osmosis from the people around us, and we let those go, and we begin to feel more and more of our authentic self. Now, our
Mhm.
mental health likes to refer to that as our true self. I refer to it as our authentic self because it's always there.
Mhm.
It's never not there. We just don't recognize it because we've created this hierophant as our perception of self.
Mhm.
And so, as we go deeper into that hierophant, surrender enough of that hierophant, and we won't surrender it entirely because that's our personality,
Mhm.
but we become more and more in touch with our authentic self, and we begin to feel our authentic self. And that, as we go deeper in, then that is extracurricular to any body, any mind. We have available to us several minds, but
Mhm.
as you begin to surrender the ego mind and you begin to experience that deeper mind that we all have
Mhm.
available to us, then you when you heal, happiness fills the void that taking those beliefs out of your hierophant automatically.
Mhm.
In other words, happiness is not something that you get, something that you have. You're just allowing it to fill the void or where the false beliefs are commanding your life.
Mhm. Okay, and I did, true confessions at the very beginning of the recording where I said I just can't meditate. Just sitting here, even listening to this, I can tell my breathing has changed already. I mean, I'm breathing more deeply. I can feel myself relaxing in my chair, just even following this conversation.
Hmm.
Is that weird?
No, no, it's the
Okay.
way it happens. I mean, when you
Hmm.
allow yourself and when you feel comfortable, when you allow yourself to sink into that mode, then that's
Hmm.
our natural state of being that we don't really have to create. It's there. We just have to allow ourselves to experience that. Now,
Hmm.
you had referenced mindfulness, and mindfulness is nothing more when we learn. And I tell my students that we exist both in the guru cave and the village at the same time.
Hmm.
And when you meditate, you go to the guru's cave, and there are no problems in the guru's cave.
Hmm.
But we have to come back into the village where all problems exist. And so, what you're doing by your meditation on a daily basis is allowing yourself to retreat to that guru's cave where there are no problems. And then, as you develop your proficiency, you bring that same feeling with you when you come back into the village. And
Hmm.
that is being mindful in the midst of the village or in the midst of the problems, is just being able to maintain that it's not in a loop. Um, it's actually much more involved, but it's not entangled.
Hmm. To me, the word that's popping into my head is serenity.
Hmm.
And just not letting the stuff, bother you in the village. That it's, might even be things that have always been there, irritants or other people, but it's just like, it just flows off of you and it doesn't really impact you.
It does. When we bring that awareness inside instead
Hmm.
of letting it flop around outside of us, when we bring that awareness inside and learn to keep that awareness inside, then we're constantly aware of our feeling. It's not an intellectual process; it's a
Hmm.
feeling process. And as you feel that, you can feel when something doesn't feel good.
Hmm.
And that means that is stress. Anytime we experience anything that doesn't feel good, that in and of itself is stress. And of course,
Hmm.
stress is a spectrum. We
Hmm.
have very minor things that don't feel good, and we have very major things that don't feel good. And that means that is a lesson to us about something that we have incorporated into our false identity, our
Hmm.
false perception of self that we need to become aware of and let it go.
Hmm.
And so stress is actually our teacher. And I do almost exclusively now work with people that are suffering from PTSD and traumas.
Hmm.
And trauma is a tremendously misunderstood concept. And all of the experts are studying the results of trauma, the changes to the body and body effect and so on and so forth, which is great. It's nice to know, but it doesn't do anything to help you heal. And it's kind of like you want to know what that airplane that's 30,000 feet in the sky, how it works and what it looks like, but all you can see is the contrail.
Hmm.
And there's only so much you can learn from the contrail. You got to
Hmm.
get to the airplane and look at the airplane in order to figure out what you want to know.
Hmm.
And so the traumas are actually there. It is nothing more. Healing traumas is nothing more than isolating the single thoughts within a perceived experience and aiding the sufferer, the patient, to focus their awareness on those few thoughts that are within that perceived experience, and the trauma heals.
Hmm.
And I do this all day, and people don't believe me, but I heal on average. A trauma takes about 10 minutes to heal.
Okay, so you did something almost impossible. You rendered me speechless there for a few seconds because,
Okay.
it's like, again, my mind is just blown because I know how many people suffer from trauma. And I mean, I've had
Hmm.
my own traumatic experience too, and how long it took to heal through them, and other people who are still suffering terribly with the effects of it. And to be able to identify a way to be able to, in just a few minutes, be able to release that trauma is just like, why isn't somebody singing this, or standing on a
Because it
mountaintop?
because it's
And
too simple.
ah,
I've presented this to the VA. I've presented this to numerous psychiatrists, and they just no, no, that's too simple. Okay, well, send me your patients, and which some of them are beginning to do. More therapists do. Half of my patients are therapists,
uh-huh, okay.
and they send me the patients. And the problem with therapy and working with someone that is a PTSD sufferer or trauma sufferer is they can't talk about it, they can't remember it well enough, they won't go into it because it's
Mm-hmm,
traumatic.
mm-hmm,
And so, what some wise therapists have figured out to do, if they send me the patient, I'll do one session with them, I'll clear the trauma, and then they can't shut up about their experience. And so they can do their stuff in order to heal the PTSD part, because that's nothing more than our protective efforts, behavioral
mm-hmm,
efforts to protect ourselves from the perception of the trauma.
mm-hmm,
So when you clear the seed, which is the actual trauma event, all the PTSD stuff fades away.
mm-hmm. That is so fascinating. What are your patients' reactions when they realize, because it's like this incredible weight has been removed from their head, their shoulders, everything all of a sudden, you just feel so much lighter when you
Yeah,
can finally heal from the trauma. But I, I think if I had that experience, I would have been, of course, just thrilled, but I would have been so ticked off at the process up to that point where people were just kind of feeding the trauma and feeding the trauma.
yeah. I do a lot of work with veterans on the weekends. I work at a mental health facility that has a um, trauma, patriot section,
Hmm.
and they're all veterans, and they all have PTSD. They all have
Hmm.
traumas, and some of them they've had these traumas since Vietnam.
Wow.
And I said, well, come here, let me work with you for a minute, and it's gone, and they're just amazed. And what'd you do? So I didn't do anything. You did it. I just guided
Hmm.
you to the healing, and but it transforms their life.
Hmm.
Because you would imagine having this
Hmm.
stigma for 50 years,
Wow.
and then all of a sudden it's gone, and they feel so much lighter, they feel so much uh, more well.
Hmm.
Their whole thought processes change. It's a dramatic transformation, and I love it. I'm enthused about it. Every time that and I've only had that I can recall two patients that it was not successful, and
Hmm.
both of them were teenagers, and both of them wouldn't do the process.
Hmm.
They were counting, they were doing all sorts of things so they wouldn't have to do the process.
Hmm.
And that since they didn't really do the process, it's not like the process didn't work. It's just I couldn't get them to the point that they were ready to get rid of it.
Hmm. That is just so empowering. And to be able to have that kind of ability to heal. And I always say this on, all of my episodes, pretty much, that the body has an incredible capacity to heal itself. And so does the mind, as long as we give it the right tools to do so.
Hmm.
And to me, this is just the most incredible gift you could give somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it thrills me every time that I do it. But
Hmm.
understand the medical profession in general
Hmm.
and your own training.
Hmm.
They perceive that the mind is a product of the body,
Hmm.
and it's the 180 degrees of that. The body's condition is a product of the mind, and we
Hmm.
create the mind. And so, however the mind has conditioned the body is how the body is going to perform, which includes illness.
Hmm.
And so, as you have that awareness and you begin to delve into that perception of self and that mind that you've created, and you start throwing these erroneous beliefs out, the body
Hmm.
automatically heals because the mind reinstructs the body on how to heal, how to be.
Hmm. So it pretty much self corrects and goes, because the body does want to be in homeostasis.
Yes, right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still thinking about, the patients that you have that you've worked with the PTSD, and I wonder, I don't know if you have an answer for this, but those same patients, do they become physically healthier?
I
Do they
did.
notice? Okay.
I don't stay with them long enough because one or two sessions is the most that I'd spend with them now. But I know that I have healed, with my meditation and the work that I've done on me, I've healed some fairly significant
Hmm.
physical illnesses.
That's incredible. Now, in the meditation process, I mean, do you have a specific, I don't want to say formula, but process for your patients to follow, and then when they go off on their own after they've seen you once or twice, a practice to follow? Because, and I'm thinking of a gentleman that I train with at the dojo, and I just love this young man so much because he just seems like he's such a happy, open individual, and he meditates every morning. He gets up at 5 o'clock and he starts his meditation practice. And most of the time, it includes a hike in the mountains because he lives in the foothills of Colorado. And so he will,
Hmm.
5 o'clock in the morning, he'll get out of bed and he does his walking, hiking meditation. And he is the most serene, grounded, amazing person to be around. I just adore him.
Hmm. Yeah, he radiates that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you and everyone around him, when he holds that level, that higher vibration, by your being in his presence, you gravitate as much as you can towards his vibrational level.
Mm-hmm.
Ram Dass, that was Richard Alpern. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you know Ram Dass history, but
Mm-hmm.
he was one of a trio with Timothy Leary that began the LSD
Mm-hmm.
rage back in
Mm-hmm.
the 60s, and they were all three of them were Harvard psychologists, and they were experimenting and exploring LSD. And Timothy Leary went the hardcore LSD path, and Richard Alpern experienced it, but he realized that he needed to learn how to get to that feeling without the drug. And
Mm-hmm.
so he went to India and learned how to meditate for years
Mm-hmm.
and had very dramatic experiences, self-healing, became quite a significant spiritual teacher. But his doctoral studies were in psychology. And he concluded after learning his meditation that the most helpful thing that anyone can do with anyone else is to maintain as high a vibration as they could in in proximity to the
Mm-hmm.
person that's suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and requiring that person to bring their vibration as high as they can to meet the therapist or the practitioner's
Mm-hmm.
vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly how it works.
So all I can think of right now is, hey, I think maybe everybody should do this because if it's impacting other people, we could really raise society to a higher level of function and kindness and humanity.
Well, critical thinking is an automatic byproduct of doing
Mm-hmm.
this, and so you become discerning in your thoughts and your associations and how you treat other people. And it is all the process of learning that other people are not separate, that they are just extensions of you. They're another part of you. And so
Mm-hmm.
as you do that, you naturally perceive um, that unity with them,
Mm-hmm.
and um, you want to help. You want to be of
Mm-hmm.
service to them,
Mm-hmm.
and to help them heal from their suffering, stress
Mm-hmm.
and suffering.
I love the fact that you used the word unity because I think that's one thing that's really missing in our society now because it seems like, everybody has a label on them or separated. You can't associate with this group or that group. But that's one of the things I've learned even in doing the podcast is we all have so much more in common than we thought we did. I mean,
Oh
because we
yeah.
all have our stories, we all have our personal experiences, and then when we can share them with each other, it's just all of a sudden we've got that human connection once again that has kind of been interrupted, let's say.
Well, we are at a significant crunch time in human
Mm-hmm.
history,
Mm-hmm.
and this is current time is a cumulative build up over a long period of
Mm-hmm.
time. We exist within a range of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and within that range of consciousness, there is certain curriculum that we're supposed to learn. Becoming awareness is the
Mm-hmm.
primary curriculum, but we also have to make a choice, and that is called the choice. It's just defined as the choice, and that choice is whether we are going to choose to enhance our perception of separation, our hierophant, our false identity that we create, or are we going to surrender that and work towards service to others? If we enhance the hierophant, then we are choosing service to self, and if we choose the bulk of what people choose, the service to others, then we're choosing unity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a basic decision, and it's an important decision because it will determine our evolution for the next billion years, our
Mm-hmm.
personal evolution,
Mm-hmm.
whether we choose to separate or to follow unity. And what we're experiencing it's most evident in politics because they're in the news, but we're experiencing it in the general population in great ways is the effort from outside of our experience to compel that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so therein, those choosing service to self are function from fear,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very, very afraid that they're losing control, and so
Mm-hmm.
they exist by domination and subjugation of others,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what they're trying to exert. However, there is the quiet majority that is
Mm-hmm.
becoming more vocal,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an interesting time because it's
Mm-hmm.
going to intensify, particularly over the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. It is a very interesting time to be alive. I have to tell you that. It's just been,
Well, we all wanted to be here. We stood in line to
yeah.
be alive at this point in time on Earth.
I love that. Okay, so now I want to ask you about your books because when did you decide to start writing? Was it one of those, just woke up one day and it was like, I need to write this stuff down? Or what was the process like for you? And I want you to tell us, I mean, about your books, the titles. Um, yeah, so just take it away and tell us about the books.
Well, they're all oriented towards healing.
Mm-hmm.
The Enlightenment, Plain and Simple, was my first book, and these were reflective of where I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote that in 2012, I think it was, but it was intended to be an introduction to people that are
Mm-hmm.
just having these thoughts. They're getting curious. They reach that point where I'm not happy. I need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have some very basic tools in there, as well as explanations of that they can do themselves
Mm-hmm.
to start healing some of the emotional baggage that they've collected, as well as the physical ailments
Mm-hmm.
that they're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the identity model is I wrote for mental health professionals, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not technical at all. Anybody can read it, and it explains the hierophant, why we create it, what it does to it, how it affects our decisions, how it manifests into the various emotional and mental illnesses that we have categorized and characterized, and how to heal those. That the very three very specific, actually, the ones that I use in treating people with the traumas is in that book. And
Okay.
it's you can self-apply. You don't have to have anyone do it for you. You can do it yourself. And I try to teach people when they do this work with me, I try to get them to understand it, so before they leave, they can continue to do it themselves. Very seldom do they,
Hmm.
but they could. And I tell them, do this an hour today, and you will affect
Hmm.
some dramatic healing in a very short period of time.
Okay, now which book is that? Is that the
That's
Enlightenment,
the
or
identity
the
model.
Identity Model?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And
So,
edifying children of a lesser God is an introduction into the spiritual world.
hmm.
Um, and again, it's changing perceptions of who we are and our
Hmm.
relationship to other people in the world around us. My compendium book is The Enigma of Consciousness, a spiritual exploration of humanity's relationship to creation.
Hmm.
And that is a deep book. It'll
Hmm.
take you pretty much as deep as you want to go
Hmm.
into who we are, why we're here, what we're supposed to be doing here, why things are the way that they are, and it's all about consciousness because all that we experience is consciousness.
I absolutely, oh, I love all the titles, but I really love the title, Edifying Children of a Lesser God.
Mhm.
There's something about that that just kind of grabs my attention and wants me to pick it up and learn more.
Well, we the Enigma of Consciousness is a capitalization upon that. That's a good
Hmm.
introduction book.
Hmm.
We all have a perception of God, whether we're an
Hmm.
atheist or not. We have a perception of God,
Hmm.
and the perception that every major religion has, is a lesser God.
Hmm.
And so, as we transform our perception of God, then we transform our perception of self.
Hmm.
Because if you understand, and religions almost invariably will promote the concept that God is infinite.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that's a loaded statement. If you break that down, what is infinity? What is
Hmm.
infinite? Infinite is everything. Infinite
Hmm.
can only be everything. The numerical value of infinity is one. Any other number is finite.
Hmm.
And so if the one infinite creator is one, is everything, in your perception that you are separate from the creator, then your perception is of a lesser God. You don't change the nature of the one infinite creator, but you change your perception of you.
Hmm.
So the reality is you can only be the one infinite creator. So the next question is, how can I be the one infinite creator down here on earth in this little
Hmm.
bitty closet that I'm speaking from? And that's what the enigma of consciousness and the edifying are the edifying children of lesser
Hmm.
God to a beginning degree, but the enigma of consciousness to a much deeper degree. How can that be? How can I be the one infinite creator? And it explains how that we are the one infinite creator experiencing ourselves at this range of consciousness. And that's why everyone's purpose is the same, is to explore ourselves, because that's the purpose of creation, so that the one infinite creator might know itself by experiencing itself.
Hmm.
So we are experiencing ourselves at this range of consciousness.
Dean, this is an episode I am going to be listening to over and over and over again. This is just absolutely fascinating.
Oh,
And I'm
good.
definitely going to be checking out your books because this is really fascinating. Do you have any more books in you? I'm kind of guessing you do.
Working on one now. The Arcturians
That's okay.
want me to put what we've been talking about into a book,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's in process.
Mm-hmm.
And the we just kind of a brief of who the Arcturians are. Uh, there are 32 archetypes of the creator.
Mm-hmm.
And all of creation, this creation, and there are multiple creations, is
Mm-hmm.
predicated upon these 32 archetypes. Five of the archetypes are inherent characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Those are inherent to the creator that began became delineated as creation was developed. And they are awareness, love, unity, stillness, and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And our each universe is made up of a mix and match combination of those 32 archetypes. Our particular universe is made up of the 5 inherent characteristics and 4 distortions. The 4 distortions, and 26 of those 32 are distortions of the 5 inherent characteristics.
Wow.
For example, one of the inherent characteristics is stillness. We perceive motion, which is a distortion, and that's one of the distortions that comprises our universe.
Mm-hmm.
We have a doubling
Mm-hmm.
of the perception of separation. We have free will, which is the perception of separation and facilitates creation's existence at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we have part of our makeup is unconsciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And unconsciousness, we must overcome. And that is essentially what we're doing when we have that moment in our life when we realize we're not happy, we need to start doing
Mm-hmm.
something else. That is the beginning of surrendering unconsciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to overcome that in order to propel ourselves further down the enlightenment path.
Mm-hmm.
So our entire universe is comprised of these 9 archetypes. The Arcturians are part of our universe. They are simply a 9-star system. Every
Mm-hmm.
star is home to an archetype of the creator,
Mm-hmm.
distortion or inherent characteristic. We are part of a 9-star system,
Mm-hmm.
and our universe has expanded as 9 stars at a time because that
Mm-hmm.
creates a new experience. The
Mm-hmm.
Arcturians are simply a 9-star system that's been in the system a lot longer than we have. So we are relatively elementary in our
Mm-hmm.
development, and they have been a guide with us to us for a long time. They are simply another 9-star system, and they speak to us as one voice
Mm-hmm.
and simply offer us guidance. The Pleiadians are another 9-star system, which is a
Mm-hmm.
popular name that has been involved with Earth for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply another 9-star system offering its guidance.
Mm-hmm. Does this have anything to do with, like the what are they called? The star systems, the not galaxies, but
Constellations?
yeah.
Well, no, the constellations were, trying to figure out patterns in the
Uh-huh.
stars, but no, we have 9 stars, and I don't know if I recall them. Our sun is home to wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are in the geographic area as the solar system around our sun. We are in wisdom, but the co creator of our experience was
Mm-hmm.
the archetype of love and wisdom together. So we are
Mm-hmm.
primarily a love and wisdom creation.
Mm-hmm. That's just fascinating. Oh my goodness. So now, when did you decide to start a podcast? Oh, not only one, but two. I mean,
Well, the first one, Simple Enlightenment, I started probably 2018, I
mm-hmm.
think. And my significant other that I referenced, that's the PT and the
Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo student, is also a vocal channel, and she talks to the Arcturians. And so, in
Mm-hmm.
the podcast, they're my only guest, and
Mm-hmm.
we just sit down, we just like you and I are sitting here and chatting, and she is a vocal channel, steps out of the way, and the Arcturians assume her position and use her as an instrument for their
Mm-hmm.
voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so they share with us really whatever we want to know.
Mm-hmm. So on your website, do you have links to the podcast there?
Hmm.
Or because I want to make sure that I have that included in the show notes.
Yeah, they're on everything's on my website, and the podcasts are available on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
all the usual
Right. Okay.
podcast hosts.
Are you on YouTube as well?
Yes,
Okay.
some of them are.
Okay.
We don't do a visual. It's
Uh-huh.
just an auditor
Mm-hmm. Audible.
audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I am still blown away. This is just such amazing information. So, where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they connect with you?
Well, again, I have all my contact information on my website. It's ddeangraves, all one word, .org.
Hmm.
It has that they can sign up for sessions if they need, trauma processing. They can sign up there. There are links to the podcast, links to the books, contact information for me.
Hmm.
And I'm available.
Hmm.
I'm delighted to talk to anybody that has an interest or needs some help.
So you do work with people online then?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can do it online or in person.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's one of the positive things that came out of COVID is we all learned that we could work online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something that
don't
people
have
have
to go to
never.
the office anymore.
Right?
But for PT, that's difficult because you kind of have to do hands-on to some degree.
That's true. That's true. Well, actually, I closed my office in 2017. So I had
Oh,
my own
okay.
private practice. But I do sometimes work with people online, and I just prefer in person for everything, just because I like the
Yeah,
ability to be able to see, a person in front of me and just have that, again, that human connection. Even, the
right.
thing I love about going to martial arts in my ballet classes is I get to hang out with people who have the same interests and passions because,
Right, which is a major thing that we're missing in today's culture.
I know, and I think that's so sad.
Yeah,
But, maybe we can change it just one person at a time or one meditation at a
there you
time.
there you go.
Dean, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's been just a wonderful conversation, and great information, wonderful stuff to start thinking about. And I'm definitely going to check out your books. I have a huge life event coming up fairly soon, so I think that's going to help smooth the path.
Well, good. Okay, I
Yeah.
hope so. Anything I can do to help? If you have any other questions or just want to
Hmm.
talk, I'm always available.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. Before we wrap up, do you have one final pearl of wisdom or anything that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yes, assume responsibility for your own healing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, until you do that, you're not going to make much progress in your healing. Well,
Wow.
as long as you allow or rely on someone else to heal you, you haven't decided you're ready to heal yet.
Hmm. Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. I've enjoyed it too.
And everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please share this information in this episode with everybody you know. Fantastic information. And I really do believe that if we do become more self aware and more conscious and learn how to maybe interact with each other on a personal level a little bit more, that we will make this world a better place. And do remember to take responsibility for your own healing. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.